Yo yo yo, pause whatever you're doing right now because the hip-hop timeline just cracked wide open again, and I promise you it ain't what the algorithm is trying to feed you. While every corny podcast on this side of the internet is out here running the same tired Kendrick has to prove himself again. Script like it's a rented uniform. The man himself has been quietly stacking chess pieces the rest of the game hasn't even noticed yet. Because check this out. In the last 72 hours alone, we got Kendrick Lamar's name locked onto a Stack Producer album, a whisper campaign about a second surprise feature that could break the internet, a leaked studio anecdote that has old TD heads shaking in their boots, and a fresh podcast tirade from two industry mouthpieces who suddenly forgot what year it is. So grab your headphones, lock your door, and tell your uncle to hold your calls because tonight we're breaking every single piece of it down with receipts, with timelines, and with the kind of honesty this genre has been starving for. Y'all ready? Let's ride. So picture this. Two grown men, matching hoodies, matching microphones, matching amnesia, sitting on a podcast set with a straight face telling the entire culture that Kendrick Lamar, the same Kendrick Lamar who owned the Billboard charts for a full calendar year, sold out 50-plus stadiums back-to-back, headlined the most-watched halftime show in the history of televised sports, and walked away from a rap battle with 5 Grammys still warm in his hand, that Kendrick Lamar now has to prove himself. Again. Baby, I almost choked on my morning coffee. They didn't stop there either. Oh no. They doubled down and said Drake and J. Cole released their recent projects and earned their respect back. And now Kendrick needs to do the exact same thing. Like, sir, respect from who exactly? The 47 bot accounts with the owl emoji still parked in your reply section? The ghost engagement farms in Eastern Europe? Because the rest of us, the actual paying culture, we already handed Kendrick the belt, the crown, the trophy, and the AUX cord back in 2024. That transaction is closed. The receipt printed. The refund window expired. And the wildest part, they somehow managed to have an entire 50-minute conversation about Kendrick's next chapter, without ever once, not a single time, saying the letters GNX out loud. As if the highest-grossing rap tour in recorded history just evaporated. As if a lead single that ran the radio for 12 straight months was a fever dream. As if the Super Bowl performance that shattered viewership records was CGI. That's not analysis, family. That's a seance. They're literally trying to talk a whole era into non-existence. Alright, let's slow it down and get factual because emotion is fun but numbers don't blink. Point 1. GNX debuted at number 1 on the Billboard 200. Not top 5. Not respectable showing. Number 1. The very metric these podcast hosts keep using as their gold standard for getting respect back. Kendrick already hit it, and he hit it while the internet was actively rooting against him. Point 2. Luther, a deep cut, not even the lead single, a track sung to a Vandross sample with SZA riding shotgun, sat on the Hot 100 for so long it started paying property taxes. 15-plus weeks in the top 10. Longer than most artists' entire album cycles. Point 3. Not Like Us won Record of the Year and Song of the Year at the Grammys in the same night. That's a double Grammy sweep for what these same critics tried to label a diss track that would fade in a week. It's been over 18 months, my guy. It's still in every club, every arena, every barbershop, every wedding reception where somebody's cousin has taste. Point 4. The Grand National Tour with SZA grossed north of $200 million, breaking the previous rap tour ceiling by a margin so wide, it made Live Nation rewrite their internal projections. Every single date sold out. And yes, I know about the fake empty seats footage the trolls kept recycling, the same clips they filmed 4 hours before doors opened, when literally nobody is supposed to be in there yet. That's not journalism. That's arts and crafts. Point 5. The Super Bowl halftime performance pulled north of 130 million domestic viewers, making it the most watched halftime show since they started keeping the record properly. And Kendrick used that stage, the biggest stage on the entire planet, to perform Not Like Us in front of the artist it was aimed at. Not a subtweet. Not a metaphor. In front of. On live television. For the whole world. So when anybody walks up to a microphone in 2026 and says this man has to earn his respect back, I need you to look them dead in the pixel and ask, respect from who? Because the scoreboard is public record. Now here's where the story pivots into something even juicier. Because while everybody was busy arguing on Twitter, the industry quietly dropped a hydrogen bomb into the timeline. DJ Dahi, yes, that DJ Dahi, the same producer who cooked up Money Trees, the same producer who has been sitting in Kendrick's inner circle since the Good Kid, Mad City era, just announced his own producer album, and the track list is nothing short of ridiculous. We're talking Kendrick Lamar, Childish Gambino, Vince Staples, Channel Trace, Ravina, Amber Mark, Buscabella, and a handful of names still being kept in the vault until release week. A producer album has no business being that stacked. That's not a project. That's a Marvel crossover event with bass lines. And listen, Kendrick's presence on that track list is not a footnote. This is a full circle moment 13 years in the making. DJ Dahi has told this story on camera multiple times. How he saw Kendrick perform alongside Dr. Dre at Coachella way back when went home that same night, cooked up a beat with Kendrick's voice already living in his head, and within a week that beat became Money Trees. One of the defining songs of an entire generation of hip-hop. A track that college freshmen are still discovering for the first time and losing their minds over. So the fact that these two are reuniting in 2026, on a producer-led project, with all of DJ Dahi's chosen collaborators surrounding them, that ain't a coincidence, family. That's fate signing an autograph. And here's the whisper that has the whole industry sweating. Multiple studio sources, and I'm keeping names off the microphone for obvious reasons, are saying the Kendrick track on this album does not sound like anything he's done before. Not GNX. Not Mr. Morale. Not Damn. Not To Pimp a Butterfly. Something completely aggressively new. One source described it as if a West Coast lowrider and a Berlin nightclub had a baby, and that baby went to therapy. Which, I have no idea what that sentence means practically, but I need to hear it immediately. Because remember, this is what Kendrick does. He doesn't recycle. He excavates. Every era gets a completely different sonic fingerprint. Good Kid, Mad City, coming-of-age cinema on wax. To Pimp a Butterfly, jazz funk cosmic protest music. Damn, surgical mainstream radio dominance. Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, therapy session pressed onto vinyl. GNX, pure uncut West Coast street liturgy. So the idea that whatever's coming next will sound like something new? That's not shocking. That's baseline expectation for this artist. He is genuinely, provably, historically incapable of repeating himself. Now here's the second rumor stacking on top of the DJ Dahi news, and honestly this one has me pacing the room. Word coming out of the TD camp, take it with the appropriate grain of salt, but the source is credible, is that ScHoolboy Q's upcoming project has a Kendrick verse locked in. And before anybody says prove it, let me explain why this rumor makes a ridiculous amount of logistical sense. ScHoolboy Q was opening for the final leg of the Grand National Tour, which means Q and Kendrick were sharing tour buses, backstage rooms, hotel floors, and green rooms for months. And if you know anything about how modern hip-hop actually gets made, and I mean actually made, not the sanitized version the labels want you to believe, you know that half the classics in this genre were recorded on tour buses at 3 in the morning after the crowd went home. I've talked to engineers who've been on these runs. I've heard the stories. Somebody sets up a little portable rig in the back lounge, somebody else has a laptop open on their knees, the artist is standing there in a hoodie with a hotel bathrobe underneath, and boom, you just captured a verse that's going to be dissected for a decade. So the idea that Kendrick and ScHoolboy Q, two lifelong TD brothers, spent the back half of 2025 quietly stacking verses in between show dates? That's not a rumor. That's just how the sausage gets made. And if you understand the personal history, Q being one of the very first people to publicly ride for Kendrick back in the Section .80 days, both of them coming up under the same roof, both of them watching each other's careers go supernova, the emotional math checks out too. Add in the possibility that Kendrick himself is sitting on a full solo album that could drop with zero warning at literally any moment, and what you're actually looking at is a scenario where this man could drop 3 separate bodies of work. A feature on DJ Dahi's album, a feature on ScHoolboy Q's album, and a full solo project of his own, inside a single compressed window. That's not a rapper in decline. That is a heavyweight champion loading up the barrel. Alright, deep breath, because we have to talk about the elephant in every comment section. Drake's fanbase, and I say this with full love for the reasonable ones, but there aren't many of you left, has spent the last 12 months parading around like Drake's Iceman project was some sort of triumphant comeback. Like it restored the throne. Like it reversed the outcome of a battle the entire planet watched unfold in real time. I need y'all to sit down for this because it's going to sting. Iceman did not chart the way you needed it to chart. It did not stream the way you needed it to stream. It did not spawn a single record that reached even a fraction of the cultural gravity that Luther is still pulling in month 16 of its lifespan. Show me literally one song from Iceman that a wedding DJ in Cleveland is confidently spinning in 2026. Oh wait, take your time. Grab a snack. Meanwhile, Not Like Us is a certified generational anthem. It's the kind of song that gets played at family cookouts, at little league games, in dentist offices, at bar mitzvahs. It has crossed every possible demographic barrier a rap song can cross. Grandmothers know the words. Kids in the UK know the words. My cousin who exclusively listens to jazz knows the words. So when a podcast host tries to convince me that Drake put respect back on his name with Iceman, I need them to define respect. Because from where the rest of the culture is standing, that project came, waved politely, and got quietly ushered off the stage by the algorithm 2 weeks later. It's not a disaster. It's just not a coronation. And pretending otherwise is doing a disservice to everybody involved, including Drake himself, who deserves honest critical engagement instead of this weird fanfiction rehabilitation tour. And here's a spicy hypothetical for the road. Just imagine, if Kendrick decided to be petty for exactly one afternoon and released a deluxe version of GNX with Not Like Us tacked on as a bonus track. Just for fun. Just for kicks. The way Drake tacked What Did I Miss? Onto Iceman. The internet would collapse in on itself like a dying star. Streaming servers would catch fire. Twitter would achieve sentience just to argue about it. And Kendrick isn't going to do it because he doesn't need to, but the fact that he could is the whole point. That's the difference between having the option and needing the option. Now let's dismantle the single most nonsensical claim from the podcast Tirade, which was, and I quote as best I can remember, "This will be Kendrick's most important album because it's the first project he's ever released under this much hate." Excuse me? Where were these gentlemen when GNX dropped in November of 2024, and every single account with an owl in the display name simultaneously decided that Squabble Up was mid, TV Off was noise, and Luther was elevator music? Where were they when podcasters, some of them the exact same podcasters currently rewriting history, spent weeks trying to convince the culture that Kendrick had lost his fastball? Where were they when the trolls circulated obviously doctored footage of empty tour venues that were empty because doors hadn't opened yet? Where were they when critics tried to argue Not Like Us was a lucky viral moment and not a genuine Song of the Decade candidate? This man has been operating under a hate campaign of unprecedented industrial scale since the summer of 2024. There is not a single major artist in modern hip-hop who has faced the volume, coordination, and persistence of digital opposition that Kendrick Lamar has faced. And he answered every single wave of it. Not with tweets, not with podcast appearances, not with subliminal Instagram stories, but with the work. Just the work. Album tour, halftime show. That's it. That's the whole response. So this brand new claim that he's never faced real hate before, and that the next album will be his first true trial by fire, that's not analysis. That's revisionist history dressed in a blazer. And frankly, it's insulting to anyone who is actually paying attention over the last 2 years. Here's a piece of the puzzle I have not seen a single other channel discuss, and I need y'all to lean in for it. Ask yourself, why the sudden coordinated podcast pivot? Why now? Why is every mid-tier hip-hop commentary account suddenly discovering, at the exact same time, a passionate new curiosity about whether Kendrick Lamar's catalog holds up under scrutiny? Why is this narrative appearing simultaneously across 5, 6, 7 different platforms in the span of about 2 weeks? Because, and this is the part nobody wants to say out loud, the industry has a rollout schedule to protect. Drake's camp has been quietly signaling a follow-up project. OVO's press machine is warming up. And you cannot warm up a comeback narrative if the reigning champion is still sitting on the throne with the crown visibly on his head. So the play is to manufacture doubt. Manufacture pressure. Manufacture the illusion of a level playing field. Get enough podcasters to say, well, Kendrick has to prove himself enough times, and eventually a casual listener starts to believe it. That's not conspiracy talk. That's public relations 101. It's the same playbook every major label has run since the 80s. Flood the zone with just enough manufactured skepticism to soften the ground before your artist walks into the room. The tell is in the language. Notice how these podcast hosts never frame it as, we personally have doubts. It's always, well, people are saying, or the culture is wondering, or there's a lot of scrutiny building. Passive voice. No fingerprints. Plausible deniability baked in from the jump. That's a media strategy, not a spontaneous opinion. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Watch the next 30 days. Watch how many times you hear the phrase Kendrick's most scrutinized album appear on channels that have absolutely no organic reason to be having that conversation. Count them. Screenshot them. Come back to this video and tell me I was wrong. Okay, let's have fun with prediction because I've been sitting with this for weeks and I've got a theory I'm fairly confident about. Every Kendrick Lamar album cycle follows an unspoken pattern. He alternates. Commercial leaning project, then artsy leaning project, then commercial leaning, then artsy. Look at the sequence. Good Kid, Mad City. Commercially digestible cinematic narrative. To Pimp a Butterfly. Abstract experimental art record. Damn. Mainstream radio surgery. Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. Deeply personal art record. GNX. Aggressive commercial West Coast dominance. If the pattern holds, the next project should be an art record. Something dense. Something layered. Something that requires 3 listens minimum before you even start to catch the architecture of it. But, and this is where I differ from a lot of the commentators out there, I don't think he's going to go pure art like he did with Butterfly or Mr. Morale. I think he's going to attempt something we haven't heard from him yet. A fusion project. Commercial melodies wrapped around experimental structures. Here's why. PG Lang, Kendrick's creative company with Dave Free, has been rumored for months to be deeply involved in the ceremonial planning for the 2028 Los Angeles Olympics. That's not a small assignment. That is a global audience, once-in-a-generation platform. And you don't walk into that kind of assignment with a pure avant-garde art record on your resume. You walk in with something that can play on Olympic broadcasts in stadium montages in commemorative documentaries. So my prediction, and I'll happily be wrong on this but I'll die on the hill, is that the next Kendrick Lamar album is going to sound like a modernized Damn. Radio-viable single or two on top, deeply conceptual architecture underneath, West Coast DNA still in the bloodstream, but arranged for a global rather than regional ear. Something Olympic-ready. And if there's a rock influence in there, which several credible whispers have suggested, that's not alienating fans. That's Kendrick doing what he's done since You Want to Pimp a Butterfly. He's been folding rock guitars, jazz saxophones, funk basslines, and spoken-word poetry into his records for a decade plus. A genre-bending Kendrick record isn't a plot twist. It's a Tuesday. Okay, I want to shift gears for a second and get into something I've been sitting on for a few days, because I've heard it from enough separate corners that I have to at least mention it. Full disclosure, this is unconfirmed. Treat it as industry rumor, not fact. But it's spicy enough that we have to talk about it. Word on the West Coast Whisper Network is that there is a completely unannounced project. Separate from the DJ Dahi feature, separate from the ScHoolboy Q feature, separate from Kendrick's own rumored solo album, that involves Kendrick collaborating with an unexpected legend. And when I say unexpected, I mean genuinely out of left field unexpected. Not another rap peer. Not another West Coast staple. But somebody from an entirely different genre lane whose fanbase does not overlap with Kendrick's at all. The rumor floating around is that a session took place late last year in a studio outside Malibu, and that session produced somewhere between 3 and 5 tracks that nobody is quite sure what to do with yet. Some sources say they'll show up on Kendrick's next solo album. Others say they're being held back for a completely separate standalone EP that could arrive as a surprise drop with zero warning. Again, this is unconfirmed. I have not heard the music. I have not seen the paperwork. But the fact that this rumor is being whispered in 3 separate cities by 4 separate credible people is enough for me to raise the flag. If it's true, it would be the kind of curveball that fundamentally changes the conversation about what Kendrick's next era looks like. If it's false, we'll all laugh about it in 6 months. But keep your ears open. And if you hear anything, DM me. My handle is pinned in the description below. Because the culture deserves the full story, not just the sanitized version the labels want us to swallow. Now let's take a stroll through the funniest, sharpest, most devastating comments circulating around all of this news, because y'all really do the work of 10 news anchors down there. One person wrote, and I'm paraphrasing to protect the innocent, Kendrick aside, that DJ Dahi tracklist is an incredible collection of talent, you egregious buffoon. And that comment might be the funniest thing I've read all week, because it perfectly captures the emotional contradiction of a certain kind of hater. They want desperately to downplay Kendrick's presence, but they physically cannot look away from the tracklist he's on. It's like being on a diet and screaming about how much you hate cake while eating a slice with both hands. Another commenter observed that the podcast pages currently trying to litigate Kendrick's catalog notably do not have the same swarm of suspicious low follower accounts flooding their replies that other pages have. Which, as an observation about how manufactured discourse actually operates on this platform, is chef's kiss. Peak media literacy. Big shout out to that user, whoever you are. Somebody else pointed out that Drake fans have been hating on Kendrick for the past 13 years. And 2024 was just the moment they got hit with the actual reality check. And that framing is important because it reminds us this isn't new hate. It's the same hate that has always been there. It's just louder now because the scoreboard changed. The dislike didn't start with a rap battle. It started the second Kendrick's talent made it impossible to ignore him back in the early Section .80 days. Another sharp one. Kendrick has been winning awards at record-breaking levels, and we're supposed to trust 2 guys who have been on the OVO payroll since 2024 about his next album? Devastating. Because that is the crux of it. When your evaluators are compromised, their evaluations are compromised. Consider the source. Consider the timing. Consider the season. 2 dudes who suddenly developed a passionate curiosity about scrutinizing this catalog the exact moment Drake needed a public relations rescue mission. That's not journalism, family. That's assignment work. Somebody joked, if Kendrick drops 3 trash albums in a row, his career is basically cooked. And I laughed for a full minute because sure, technically true, but he hasn't dropped one. Not a single dud in a 15-year career. Even the biggest critics of this man, including some who have made entire content careers out of nitpicking him, have publicly conceded that his catalog is spotless. When your most persistent hater admits your resume is clean, that's not a rapper who has to prove anything. That's a case closed. Now let me float something the podcast hosts brought up half-jokingly that I want to take completely seriously. One of them tossed out the idea that Kendrick Lamar could genuinely be the #1 rapper of 2026, and everybody at the table laughed like it was a wild take. It's not a wild take. Look at the runway. Look at the pending feature on DJ Dahi's album, dropping into a stacked producer project with a built-in listening audience of millions across every collaborator's fanbase. Look at the rumored ScHoolboy Q feature, which if true reintroduces Kendrick to the core TDE audience at the exact moment TDE is going through its own visibility renaissance. Look at the whispered solo project, which historically, whenever this man drops solo, takes over the entire cultural conversation for a minimum of 3 to 4 months. Now stack all three of those on top of a cultural landscape where Not Like Us is still charting 16 months later, Luther is still a wedding song, GNX is still a top-streamed album, and the Grand National Tour footage is still going viral on social media platforms week after week. Add to that the fact that PG Lang is embedded in the Olympic conversation, which means we're going to see Kendrick's brand strategically placed on national and international broadcasts starting sometime in the next 12 months as part of the Olympic marketing runway. You put all of that together, and rapper of 2026 isn't a hopeful prediction. It's the most obvious call in the entire industry. The only thing that could stop it is Kendrick himself deciding to sit the year out, and every single person who has ever worked with this man will tell you the same thing. He does not sit years out. He is a lifer. He is in the studio when nothing is being announced. He is writing when nobody is watching. Silence from Kendrick has never meant absence. It has always meant pressure is building. Let's zoom all the way out for a second and get philosophical because we don't do enough of it in this genre. Where does Kendrick Lamar actually sit in the historical rankings right now? Not the big three conversation. That framing is honestly played out and has been for years. I mean the actual pantheon. The Rushmore. The wing of the museum with the marble columns. Because here's the honest math. In terms of Grammy-recognized artistic peak, he's already passed Nas, past Andre 3000 in solo count, past every peer of his generation. In terms of cultural crossover impact, the Super Bowl performance placed him in a tier that only 3 or 4 rappers in history have touched: Jay-Z, Eminem, and arguably Dre. In terms of critical consensus, the Pulitzer Prize for Damn is a credential nobody else in the genre has. Full stop. Nobody. Not Jay. Not Nas. Not Biggie. Not Pac. Not M. Just him. And in terms of live performance economics, the Grand National Tour numbers place him firmly in the top tier of touring rap acts of all time, behind only a handful of historical outliers who had multi-decade runs to build their audience. So when the podcast hosts talk about him having to prove himself for what exactly? Prove himself against whom? He is currently the standard. He is currently the artist that the standard is measured against. You cannot ask the ruler to justify its own inches. Alright, let me tell y'all what I'm actually watching for over the next 90 days, because there's a lot of noise in the news cycle and it helps to have a checklist. Signal 1. Watch the PG Lang social accounts. Every major Kendrick moment in the last 3 years has been preceded by an aesthetic shift on those pages. A color palette change, a font change, a mysterious cryptic post. When you see it, the countdown has started. Signal 2. Watch DJ Dahi's release date. The moment the tracklist gets officially confirmed with track lengths and features credited, that's when we know whether Kendrick's contribution is a full solo verse, a duet, or something more elaborate. Signal 3. Watch ScHoolboy Q's rollout. If Q starts doing press and mentions label mates or brothers or family features, you can bet Kendrick is on the tracklist. Signal 4. Watch the tour merch. This is a weird one, but the West Coast release cycle has a tell new tour merch drops usually precede album announcements by 4 to 6 weeks. If GNX era merch suddenly gets pulled from the PG Lang store, something new is imminent. Signal 5. Watch the Olympic Committee announcements. Any confirmation of PG Lang's role in the 2028 opening ceremony would trigger a coordinated Kendrick media rollout to establish his brand narrative going into that moment. Keep an eye on those 5 things. If 2 or more of them start moving simultaneously, buckle up, because that's the signal that the next era is officially underway. So here's where we land, family. After 20-something minutes of untangling the noise, Kendrick Lamar does not have to prove himself. That framing is a manufactured narrative being pushed by parties with a vested interest in softening the ground for a competing rollout. The scoreboard is public. The receipts are triple notarized. The Grammys are on the shelf. The tour money is in the bank. The Super Bowl performance is in the history books. The cultural monopoly on the last 2 years is his and only his. What is true is that new Kendrick Lamar music is coming, potentially on DJ Dahi's producer album, potentially on ScHoolboy Q's next project, and looming behind all of it, the whispers of a full solo album that could arrive with zero notice at any moment. And whatever he drops, it will sound like nothing he's done before, because that's the only mode this artist has ever operated in. Reinvention isn't a bonus feature. It's the operating system. The Malibu brothers and every podcaster echoing their talking points can frame the next album however they want. They can call it his most important. They can call it his most scrutinized. They can call it his referendum. Doesn't matter. Because every album from this man has been all three of those things every single time. Calling the next one his most important is like calling the ocean wet. Yes, that's kind of the whole point. And to the folks still typing owl emojis into every comment section from now until doomsday, I need you to log the pattern. When Kendrick is quiet, y'all scream he's washed, he's scared, he's hiding. When Kendrick drops, y'all instantly pivot to it's mid, it's trash, nobody's listening. You literally cannot demand silence and criticize silence in the same breath. Pick a lane. Because the rest of the culture already picked one, and it's the lane with Luther on loop and not like us echoing out of every arena on planet Earth. Let me know down in the comments, who do you think steals the show on DJ Dahi's album? Is it Kendrick? Is it Childish Gambino? Is it Vince Staples? Is it the sneaky pick nobody's watching? Drop your honest odds. Tell me straight up. What percentage chance do you give Kendrick Lamar walking away as rapper of 2026 by December? Not the safe answer. The real one. And name me. Go ahead, take your time, I'll wait. Name me one Kendrick Lamar album you personally believe missed the mark. Just one. Because from where I'm sitting, that list is completely empty. But I'm always open to hearing the counter-argument if you can build it with actual receipts. Drop your picks. Drop your predictions. Drop your loudest hot take. Because y'all know I read every single one of them, and the best ones make it into the next breakdown video. If this breakdown hit for you, smash that like button. It genuinely moves this channel forward and it tells the algorithm we're doing something right. Hit subscribe if you haven't already because we've got a lot more Kendrick Lamar coverage on the way, including the full DJ Dahi tracklist breakdown the second it drops, a deep dive on the ScHoolboy Q rumor if it firms up, and my full prediction video for the next Kendrick solo project. Massive shout out to the channel members keeping this thing alive, and an extra shout to everyone who's been dropping super thanks lately. Y'all have been unreasonably generous and it does not go unnoticed. Not for a second. If you want to send me tips, receipts, leaks, or spicy industry whispers for the next breakdown, my socials are pinned in the description below and in the top comment. That's honestly the fastest place to catch me. So drop in, tell me the odds, tell me the take, and I'll catch y'all on the next one. Peace, love, and long live the champ.